Is it playing?
You're listening to the Convene Connections podcast with your host, Matthew Curry.
And good evening, everybody. I hope you are doing well tonight. I have our newest community leader, Jamon, on with us. And Jamon, how you doing tonight?
Oh, man, I'm awesome. I hope you are.
Yeah, doing well, man. I'm so glad you're here. And I'm so glad that we're going to be talking about the topic that we're going to be talking about tonight, because this is such an important topic, especially to me. And many people don't know, but this is probably one of the first communities that we actually put inside of Convene, because it's something that's near and dear to my heart. But hey, let's just let you introduce yourself tonight so far, and then we'll get started.
Sounds good. My name is Jamon Glover. I currently live in Durham, North Carolina. And for those that know me well, they know me as a freelance videographer. Those who don't know me quite as well know me as a parenting coach.
Yeah. Parenting coach, man. So that's pretty amazing. You know, somebody like you who is, again, a little bit more about you. You're in the military, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So
Yes, sir.
what do people say? You know, hey, Jamon, man, I thought you were in the military. I thought you were, what's the deal? You know, you're a parenting coach?
Yeah, it's very, very similar. I'm not sure you've ever watched the Martin Show back in the late 90s. And it's the comedian Martin Lawrence, and he has two best friends.
Oh, yeah.
And Tommy, I forget the actor's name. He passed a few years ago. But Tommy was the one that went off to work every day, but nobody knew where he worked.
Yeah.
I work at the building on the corner, the building, the one with no name on it. He's like, you ain't got no job, Tommy. And so for years, my friends called me Tommy, because 1 minute I'm gone, I'm in the military, and then I'm back. Then they see me filming something for MTV, or they see me doing something with NASCAR, and then they don't see me again. And now I'm doing parenting classes. So people really think I don't have a job. They think I'm a gigolo, I guess. I'm not sure.
That's right. So you do a lot of video stuff, and I'm excited about that, because that's what we were talking about a little bit before. How did you get into video? And then we'll get back to the parenting.
Video's is a long story. I was the guy as a kid. I would walk around with the little Instamatic camera with your roll that you scroll your little button. And I was always taking pictures, and I had boxes and little shoe boxes full of pictures that I had taken. And I think I get it from my dad, because he did a lot of the same thing. But it wasn't until after I got out of the military that I bought my first video camera. And I just became really a storm chaser, because I was living in Montgomery, Alabama at the time.
Yeah.
And that was during the time when Hurricane Katrina came through. So I took my camera out, and I was out there filming the storm. And I just got a rush from it, just being able to create, experiment with different shots, and just documenting, and also telling the story. I love telling the story.
Absolutely. And you know what, photography, that you mentioned, that's so important to me. I played sports all through growing up, and I don't have any pictures. I have like 3 pictures of me playing sports, 2 from football, 1 from high school baseball, 4 pictures, and 1 from me playing college baseball. And I'm not even playing. I'm standing by my brother, who I played at UNC Greensboro, who played at UNCW, and my roommate played at UNC Greensboro with me. That's all I had. So my kids will tell you, Braden will tell you, like I dedicated myself to taking pictures. I love photography and taking pictures of them in sports, because I want them to walk away sports and dance and all the things that my kid with those memories, man, because I would do anything to have those memories, to be able to show them. They're like, oh yeah, right, Dad, you used to play baseball. I believe that. You don't have any proof.
Yeah, I was fortunate in that respect, because like I said, my dad, he bought his first camcorder when it was still running off the VHS.
Yeah.
And I think I was probably 12, maybe 13. And he would record all the church, like choir anniversaries and some sermons. And there wasn't much about editing back then. He would just take it from one tape and dub it to the other. And he would just sell them that way. And so that was really my first introduction to video.
Yeah.
And so I helped him as much as I could. But as far as high school sports, I made the yearbook a couple of times, but I got a bunch of awards and trophies and stuff. So I got proof that I was there. My name is on them.
That's it. That's right.
But there's not a whole lot of pictures of me doing anything.
Yeah. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And it's just different times, right? I mean, today,
So.
today, kids and us and everybody walks around with a camera in their hand and a video camera in their hand. And think about that. It's like Stezo in the background was saying back VHS tape. Your dad was walking around like this.
Yeah.
The whole thing. And that's so right, because it was but it's important memories, which is so cool.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is.
Yeah, pretty cool. So, and that's parenting, right? So let's talk about parenting, because that's, one of the things that your dad did for you, was able to capture that thing. But why did you get into parenting? You told me a story one time before of why you really got into parenting. So tell that story, if you don't mind.
It goes back to my grandmother. Mm-hmm. And she was the type of parent, or grandparent, I should say, that she'd give you the warning about something. She would say, hey, don't do this because, and then we would go do it anyway. And so she wouldn't fuss. She wouldn't say it again. And she'd let us do whatever we were doing until whatever happened actually happened.
Yeah.
And then it's like touching that hot stove. And they tell you don't touch it. And you just like, but you got to push that button. You got to touch that stove. When you do it and you get burned. And she's like, yep, you bought that sense. So yeah, she called it bought sense for years.
Yeah.
I didn't quite understand it, but yeah, you paid for it and you bought it.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
And in hindsight, that is some of the best experience, the best lessons you're going to learn, and not forget the ones you earn.
Yeah.
And that's what kind of started me on my parenting journey. My mother and my father, let's see. When my mom was 19, she had me. Mm-hmm. My father was 27, and I am the 8th of my dad's 10 children. And so he had been creating life for many years before he even thought about me. And, one was in a previous marriage. And so he had kids that he didn't really see that often. And so by the time him and my mom were married, and then myself and my 2 younger siblings come along, he's kind of getting in a space where he wants to be more stable. He wants to be a better father. Mm-hmm. The only problem with that is he really had no idea what that was.
Yeah. And
so he made a lot of mistakes. And so I learned how to parent by being parented.
Yeah.
And so I go off, I graduate high school, I go off to the military, I get married, I have 4 children. And just to run down on my children real quick, my oldest is 23, my second oldest is 22, and I have a 20-year-old son and a 14-year-old son.
Okay.
And they are super precious to me in ways, and I'm going to share real quick why. But I was going along, working, providing, being present at everything I can be present at, and I thought I was doing the best job possible as a parent. I thought I had myself on the back every day, because it was, and especially coming in my community, the stigma was that Black men didn't parent their kids. They ran off and they did whatever they did. And I was determined not to be that.
Yeah.
And then the strangest thing happened. I'm getting off work one day. My wife calls me and tells me she's running to the store and that my son's at the neighbor's house. So I knock on my neighbor's door to get my son. He sees me and instantly starts crying. And in my mind, I'm thinking, he just is not ready to stop playing. So I go to pick him up. I said, come on, man, we got to go. And I'm picking him up, and he starts kicking and screaming. And he looks right in my eyes and said, I don't want you to be my daddy. He points at the neighbor and says, I want him to be my daddy. And all of the alpha male that I could muster, I used to hold back the tears. Yeah. Because he broke my heart in so many ways. But at first I was just really mad because I'm like, I'm doing everything. My ego is bruised because I'm doing everything that I'm supposed to do, as far as I know.
Yeah.
And so I take him to the house, and I sit him in his high chair. I give him some Cheerios, and I'm trying to cook dinner, but it's just bothering me. It's just like,
Yeah.
and then it really dawns on me: this kid is 4. He's not trying to hurt my feelings. He's not. There's no master plan where he's trying to do anything but be his authentic self.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
so, and that's when my journey began. I took a hard look at my life, and I started watching my neighbor with his kids. I started watching my best friends with their kids. I started watching guys at the mall with their kids. And I realized that something was missing. I never learned how to nurture.
Yeah.
I never learned how to be more than a provider and a disciplinarian.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
he was begging for that. And so it took me a journey. Like I said, my son was 4. He's 20 now. So it's been a 16-year journey of me learning through
Yeah.
my failures, learning through other people's stories and examples, and experience has brought me a long way. And so much so that it's become a passion of mine now, that I feel like I'm obligated to help anybody who was in my shoes get out of where they are and raise an amazing family.
Absolutely. I got a story for you too, because it's along those lines. And I was at playoffs are going right now in baseball, right? But I was at a good buddy of mine that I played baseball. We would when we had a game that night. I remember, and we were at his house and we were watching the Braves play in the playoffs, Braves in the playoffs. But we were watching the Braves play, and his dad was sitting on the couch with him. All of us were sitting around, but his dad was sitting by him on the couch. And John, my friend, was leaning forward. And I watched this for like 30 minutes. His hand was on, and we're high school kids, right? But his hand was on his son's back, John, my friend, and he was just rubbing his son's back.
Hmm.
And I was taken back by that because you saw the love between father and son in that whole thing. And I just remember watching it the whole time going and taking it in. And that's how much like it meant something to this day. That's back in we were just talking, I'm coming my 30-year high school reunion this year. And that was 30 years ago. And I remember it just like it was yesterday. And so I always said that, hey, when I have a son or daughters, I want a great relationship with my kids. And that was a model for me. That day was a model that sticks out in my mind. Not that I didn't have a great father, because I did, but that was just an intimate moment to watch. That was his dad showing him the whole time that he loved him. And I was like,
Yes.
that's amazing, you know. And
Yeah.
they still have that relationship today because I'm still friend. He's one of my high school friends I'm still close with, you know.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Wow, that's awesome. And you said the magic word, it's relationship. It is relationship to the 10th power. And
Mhm.
most parents, well, I don't say most parents, but a lot of parents, they have a God complex. And they
Mhm.
think it's their job to not just mold and shape, but some parents think breaking their child is going to create what they think is the best version of a person.
Yeah.
And anytime you break anything, it's not the same.
Yeah.
It's never going to reach its full potential. And so that's the journey that I had to personally go through, because my dad was a strict, very tough disciplinarian.
Mhm.
And so we didn't have a relationship for many years. And we just didn't get along. When he got up to go to work, when the car pulled out of the driveway, I got out to bed.
Yeah.
When I knew he laid down, that's when I came back home. This is when I was in high school. We didn't
Wow.
spend any time together outside of having to do chores on Saturday, and I had to cut grass or something. But outside of that, I wanted nothing to do with him for years.
Yeah.
And once I learned that it was the relationship that was missing with my kid, me and my children, I was able to go back and rebuild that with my dad. And now we
Yeah.
have the greatest relationship ever.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's like you said, he didn't know what he didn't know,
He
you
didn't know
know.
what he didn't know.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of people that are like that, right? A lot of people don't know how to sit back and have that relationship with their child. So
Exactly.
how do you know, because so you teach this stuff, you speak about it and teach this stuff. How do you do that? How do you teach that to men?
The first thing I try to do is, in order to be a good father, you got to first understand what it means to be a man.
Mm-hmm.
And there are a lot of guys who, create children, but when they get here, they're lost because they have no idea what responsibility and sacrifice is.
Yeah.
Being a veteran, actually serving, very well when you sign on the dotted line that a sacrifice may be called upon one day.
Yeah.
And most of us, we sign willingly, and we go and we do our duty. But
Yeah.
if you have never had the responsibility of caring for someone, and now my life totally changed when my daughter was born.
Mm-hmm.
I was living somewhat reckless. I was just doing whatever. I didn't really have many aims as far as passions and desires in the world. I was just living day to day. But the
Mm-hmm.
moment she was born, I felt this huge sense of responsibility. It's like I have to make sure she's good. I have to make sure she has a good home. I have to make sure she can do this and go to college and she can fulfill whatever dream she has. And so many fathers that have come through my program, they had similar thoughts, but because they didn't have a good environment, because they didn't have the role models, they had no idea what it looked like.
Yeah.
And so one of the first things I like to ask them is, why did you become a father? What does being a father mean to you? Because you have to really drill down to the core. And that answer is surprisingly, but that's the first answer that gives me insight into who this person specifically is and where they come from. And so the first step I would say to anybody out there that's thinking about, becoming a parent, the first question you have to say is, am I willing to put this child before me?
Yeah.
That's the first question. If you are, now some people they're really self-absorbed, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you are a self-absorbed person, it's hard to put others before you. And so you might want to consider those things before actually having a kid.
Yeah.
Having a child don't change your life for the better. It complicates it to an extent, but it's a journey that's worth every complication.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, before that, and you're so right. So before you have kids, you're worried about yourself.
Yes.
You're worried about having fun. You're worried about your wife, your relationship, You're just worried about what, hey, what are we going to do this weekend? Where can we go? What can we have? What can we do?
Pretty much.
Boom, all of a sudden you got the third wheel, you got that kid and it changes everything, right?
Everything.
And then you have another one, and then you have another one, and it just, I got another thing. I'm write this down so don't forget this because we're not to that point yet. I got a good story for you and a question on that because I want to hear your thoughts on that. But yeah, it's so important that, especially when you're talking to men, is that, the sacrifice is coming.
Yes.
Right? The sacrifice is coming. And are you willing? Is that what you want? Are you willing to give that sacrifice? And so many men aren't. So many people don't understand it. So many people like you, they think I got to provide, and that's the most important thing. Is that I got to continue to make money and provide for my family.
Yeah, that's it. And it's one of the second things that we normally have to end up discussing. You remember the movie Toy Story, the first one?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
When little Andy, him and Woody, let me tell you about my best friend. They're eating together, they're sleeping together, they're playing in the backyard together, and then Buzz Lightyear comes in.
Yeah, exactly.
And though Andy is sitting, now Buzz is now sitting on the shelf watching Buzz and Andy play.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the fathers that I've talked to, they feel like Woody.
Yeah.
Because now this new baby is here and it's all about the baby.
It is.
It's like we don't do anything anymore. Now it's what her and the baby's going to do. It's a doctor's appointment. It's play dates with, the baby can't even crawl yet. They doing a play date.
Exactly. Yeah. And that is so true because you feel left out.
Exactly.
You feel left out. You feel like the third wheel in your family,
In your
where
family.
you used to be this woman number one.
Yep.
You used to be her everything.
Yep.
She poured all the focus into you. And now, guess what? You're not the number one anymore. You really are. You're still up there, but they have the baby, the kid, the child. And then you bring on another one. You bring on another one, right? But and understanding that, right, is so important to prepare yourself, for that.
It is. Preparation is key in so many situations. And as parents, I don't remember for any one of my children being born being given a manual or a handbook that says this is how this thing's going to operate. Change the oil every 3,000 miles. I didn't get one of those manuals, and I'm having to figure out on the fly, what do I do? How do I be a man? And how do I be a provider for my family?
Yeah.
That's the hardest thing for some guys to wrap their head around. Because before, and this is really unfair to some guys, because you have some moms out there and they baby their boys so much, and it's all about the son. It's all about him achieving his dreams and doing. Now he has somebody he has to do that for, but he doesn't have the experience of even having to work sometimes. Because mom took care of everything. Yeah,
Braden. We'll get to more stories about that in a minute. Play dates. That's the people got a kick out of play dates. I think that's pretty funny. The old play dates thing. I think that's hilarious. Yeah, and so you become that thing is you become what you feel like is that third wheel. And then I know a lot of dads who didn't like this, right? They didn't like this as the mom home with the kid all day, right? And I found some dads resented this because they're at work all day, right? Mom's home with the kids all day, and then they want a break. So you walk in the door and you get, here's your baby, I'm going. And then they walk and they leave, and you're like, wait a minute, I've been working all day. And so now you get a conflict going.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. So what do you tell them about that?
Simple. I tell them, spend all day Saturday with the baby.
Yeah. Exactly.
Just spend all day Saturday.
Yeah.
Guys, a lot of guys don't really get it until they have to experience it. I mean, even most guys can relate to this part. When your wife says, I need to go get my hair done, I'm gonna get my nails done, or whatever she's getting done, or I'm going grocery shopping and I'm leaving the baby here, and she's gone for 2 hours. 30 minutes later, we're looking at our watch. We're calling like, hey, how long you say you was gonna be gone? And we barely making it for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
But mom has to sit there every day, all day.
Yeah.
Attending to the needs of the baby, trying to keep the house together, trying to cook food, trying to do laundry. Then she needs her space. She don't get a 10-minute, 15-minute, hour lunch break. She's working from the time the baby is up until the time somebody can give her some relief.
Yeah.
Exactly. At work, you do your job, but you're talking to people, you're laughing and joking, you killing a few hours of conversation, and you on YouTube or whatever else you're doing. But mom is at home, she's struggling.
Yeah.
She's struggling.
And I'll tell you what I say. And one of my things is, mom is home. Yeah. And you're right. She's struggling, but it's a give and take. It's a relationship, right? Mm-hmm. And both of you, this is where the communication comes back in between you and mom, is that you have to both work with each other, and you have to give mom space, and you need your space, but you also need your time together. But also you need, and this goes back to what we're talking about, you need to be a father to that child. You need to be there so that child is a part of your life. And I think sometimes that little conversation we just had can get in the way, right? Because you're like, wait a minute, I've just been working all day. Well, no, be a dad. Spend time on with that child. So one of my favorite memories and all that, I remember, and I love this, right? Base housing. We lived on base housing, right? So every day, kids out, mom's out, everybody's out, in base housing, everything's kicking up, kids are playing, they're having a great time. And when I would pull into the driveway and open that door, this little boy would take off running from wherever he was, and he would jump into my arms, right?
Wow.
And so I love that. That was it. That was amazing to me. But I had to be there for him, you know?
Yeah.
And then that was my time. That was my time to, one, give Tisha a break, but spend time out there with the soccer ball, spend time out there with the baseball and the football and all that. And so my best friend, Bo Mansfield, and his son Avery across the street, Braden and Avery were best friends. And then there was a little other kid that was right there. Well, Bo and I spent so much time with Braden and Avery, and we had the other little neighborhood kid. And this was heartbreaking to me. Heartbreaking. And Bo and I still talk about this all the time. The guy's name was Mike Dakar. And Braden, you remember the kid's name. I'm drawing a blank on the kid's name. But he was always playing with us. But Mike would come in from work, pull in the driveway. We'd be out there in the yard playing football. And he would take off straight in the house. He could have come over there with us. His son would take off running to him, and he would go in the house. And then his son would come back, upset. It's horrible. It was horrible. So it's that lesson learned for me, watching that interaction, Yeah, Braden said, and shooting the rock in the backyard while burgers were on the grill. Exactly. That's throwing the baseball. That's what we used to call cook the food and throw the baseball, shooting the rock.
Wow. Yep.
You got good comments coming in too. Go ahead and say what you're going to say, and I'll get back to some of these comments.
Okay. I was just saying, it's when I think for a lot of parents, not just guys, but parents in general, if you change the perspective or the perspective that you have of what the job of a parent is, it's like, for me, early on, I thought my job was to provide and to make sure my kids acted right.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have the relationship piece. So when I spent time with them, we were like two strangers.
Yeah.
It wasn't no go play anything. It was like, okay, I would occupy you for a few minutes until your mama got finished doing what she was doing. But the moment I realized that I'm helping to build another adult. I'm furthering my legacy right now. So the better relationship I have with this kid, whether my son or my daughter, the better parent they'll be to my grandkids.
Exactly.
And so I was the exact opposite. When I came home, it was like it was a ghost town. My kids would go in their rooms. Wife would be downstairs watching TV. I'm like, where about that? She'd be like, oh, they upstairs. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Everything good? She'd be like, yep. I'm like, all right, cool. I go to my office and I'll start working again.
Yeah.
I had no idea that wasn't how it was supposed to look.
Yeah.
Fast forward a few years, I'm going through these times and I'm hitting these learning curves. I'm getting these new experiences. Now, boom, me and my oldest son, we got our own little language that when we talk around his mom, we talk, nobody knows what we're saying. We cracking up. My youngest son, we got all these special, we NBA players with the handshakes.
Yeah.
My 14-year-old, 14 now, he'll come any given time of the day, put his arm around me, give me a hug, and be like, I would kiss you, but I don't want you to think I'm soft. I'm like, bro, go put one on me. Go put one on me. And it's like my life has gotten so much better because the relationships have grown and
Absolutely.
My kids love me. They don't fear me. I have retired from being a spanker. I don't even spank anymore. I've gotten so many more tools that spanking is really unnecessary in most cases.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because I think kids know. I mean, they know when they're doing right. They know they're not doing wrong.
Yep.
And I think that's so important. That's really cool. Like Wendy, I want to throw a couple comments out here. Wendy says, in the Christian community, we are told our husbands come first. If you're new to parents, that the babies can't fend for themselves, so they need to come first for some time. And that's such a true statement, right? The
Yeah,
baby has to come first. They can't do it. They can't, feed themselves. They can't change their diaper. They can't give themselves a bath right on the bath.
that's right.
That's the give and take, right? That's the
Yep,
give and take. And I know Patty Moeller would say, that's where you learn the communication comes in.
yes,
That's where we have to learn to talk and respect each other and give and take and, you know, understand what the mom needs, but she needs to understand at the same time what you need. And you two need to understand in that relationship what both of you need in that relationship. Because here's the key: a happy mom and a happy dad makes for a happy home. And in that happy home, you bring up, kids that are happy and raised with love. And that's the key in the whole
that's it.
thing.
That's it. That's
Is the
totally it. I
Yeah.
go I go back to, I forget what scripture it is, but it says if you want to be a leader, you must understand that the greatest leader is also the greatest servant.
Yeah.
When
Abs-
you become especially a father, you become, if you want to claim to be the head, then you also have to claim to be, I serve them.
mhm.
I make sure my sacrifices are for them.
Yeah.
I put myself on the back burner so that they can go be all they can be, that they
Yeah.
can achieve and aspire. Because guess what? When they're happy, I'm going to be happy.
Yeah.
When they're at
Absolutely.
peace, I'm going to be at peace.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you another thing. Let's talk about this. Like, I want to be the one, and I want my wife also does want to be the one, but I want to be the one when there's a time of crisis, my phone rings, that they turn to me because they know that I'm there for them.
Yes,
But my wife wants the same thing, and rightfully so. I think that my kids go to me for some things, but they go to her for some things, and that's healthy to to happen. And uh we kind of just had a glitch on the screen. We'll see if that comes. But that's so important, right? Those things are so important that that we work through those things.
exactly. You're right. 1,000%. Thousand
Yeah.
percent.
Yeah.
Isn't the two become one, and that child is the proof that that union existed.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So what's your thoughts on this in parenting? Understanding your kids' personalities, understanding that each kid is different, understanding that they all have different needs and they all communicate, they all need to be loved in a different way.
When I was growing up, there were two twins that lived a couple blocks from me, named Keith and Kevin, identical twins. Their mother could barely tell them apart. This how identical they were. But they acted so different. They looked exactly the same, but it was night and day. One was a model student, couldn't play sports worth anything.
Yeah.
The other was the exact opposite of a model student, but was a supreme athlete. They both had different friends. They both had so different personalities. And so it's like, if you are expecting for your children to be all the same, think about you and your siblings. Think about you and your mother and her siblings, your father and his siblings. Everybody comes with a different personality. So you
Yeah.
need tools to handle different personalities. My oldest daughter, she challenged me every step of the way on everything. My youngest daughter, my son got on her one day, was like, "Daddy ain't God." Because every word I say, she take it literal and she perfects. She does it to a perfection, and it will just aggravate the one above her and the one below her.
Yeah.
But all four of them are different.
Yeah.
My youngest one, he's the one that's like me. He's so much like me, it's scary.
Yeah.
I had to parent him just a little different, because if he's like me, I know what I need to get ahead of.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of them being your kids.
Absolutely.
You recognize the traits. you recognize maybe something that's kind of in the family that it may have skipped you, but it landed on that one. So
Yeah.
you're like, okay, this is in the family, so I need to watch out for this. Or this is in the family, I need to push that further. I need to push them more into that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm a fan of personality tests.
Yeah, me too. Yeah,
because
totally.
they don't totally predict, but they do give a good insight to the preference of how these people deal with things.
Yeah.
So are you familiar with the DISC assessment at all?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's interesting. Both Braden and I are both high eyes. So we're a lot alike in that respect. But yeah, I love the DISC assessment. I think it's a great thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about like many people hear me talk about this all the time, but the 5 love languages. Have you ever read that?
I have.
Yeah. So today, parenting wise, I went to see my daughter. Everybody goes through. This is what I've told my kids. I've told Braden this. I've told Megan this. I've told Lainey this. Is that in life, right, in younger life, relationships are part of growing, right?
Yeah.
You have boyfriends, you have girlfriends. It's part of growing up. It's going to work. Some are going to work out, some are not, but you learn from each of them. So Megan today, her and her boyfriend are, going through a situation where they just broke up, right? She needed dad. So guess what I did? I got in the car and I drove to Chapel Hill, right? And it's just spend time with her and just to say it's okay and listen to her and spend that time and understanding, what they need. And I think that that's so important too, to make them understand relationships. But we talked about the 5 love languages. We talked about, I think it's so important understanding that person you're with. What do they need? Why are they saying the things they're doing? Why are they acting the way they do? And because if they move on together or if they don't move on together, it's important to understand who that person is.
Yeah.
Well, it's the same for your kids. It's the same for your kids. Knowing what each of them need, knowing what each of their personalities, the DISC, is, and then the 5 love languages. People need different things,
Yes.
So
yep.
Very key.
I think it was one of my aunt or my uncle. They used to always talk about, you love me the way you want, you love me the way, I forget how they say it anyway, but people love you the way they want to be loved.
Exactly.
And, instead of, and that's the cheat code. If you see how somebody, if you see how they treating you, that's probably how they want to be treated. It's almost like the golden rule, right?
It is. It's almost like the golden rule. But somebody said to me on the golden rule one time, because I'm a huge believer of the golden rule, right? And this, I've taught my kids this. Braden will tell you this. I beat this into them. You treat people the way you want to be treated, right? With respect. If you wouldn't like it, then they wouldn't like it either. So you treat people with respect. But it goes a step further, and it goes back to what you just said, in my opinion. You may not want to be treated. It stops there. Yeah, you treat people with respect and understanding, and you care for people. But your personality is different than my personality. Yeah. So if you say, I'm going to treat you the way I want to be treated, well, I might want different things than you want. If you go to the 5 love languages, I'm a person that's physical touch person. Well, you might be the type of person that is, for me, I'll talk about me and my wife, my wife is acts of service. So you do think we're not the same. Yeah. So you need to, yes, understand where you're at, but also understand where they're at,
Yeah. I was just thinking about it was years ago. The biggest argument I think I've ever gotten into was with my wife. We were married at this time about 5 years, and it was Thanksgiving, and I am a huge breakfast guy. I love breakfast. Yeah. It's like, you ain't got to wash my clothes. You ain't got to give me no hug. Acts of service all day long. If you cook me some breakfast, oh, you got me. You cook me breakfast, you got me.
Yeah, that's fun.
And so I'm telling my husband, look, all you got to do, I would get up and cook. I was like, look, Thanksgiving, can I get some biscuits, some eggs, some bacon, I want a country breakfast. And she was like, I don't, okay. And so I go take a shower, we'll come back, she's still laying in the bed. I'm like, do I need to go to the store? We don't have the stuff. And she and she finally was like, look, I don't want to cook no breakfast. So
yeah.
And it just started this argument. I tell people I almost got divorced on Thanksgiving over some biscuits. Because I wanted her to give me that act of service.
Yeah.
But she needed that affection. She needed that hug.
Yeah.
And so back then I did not understand it. I'm telling you what I want. Why can't you just do it? Because that's we missing each other.
You're missing.
Yeah.
You got to slow down.
You
got to slow down and understand what the other person wants. That's in your relationships with your spouse, your boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it might be, but also with your kids. Know what they want. Meet them where they are, And it goes both ways. It goes both ways. Totally goes both ways. So Patty Moore said she loves breakfast. I love breakfast. That's funny. So I got a good story for you, right? So everybody knows I fly for NASCAR. And so I was 2 years ago. So I was flying Joey Logano and his wife. And I flew them down. It was Texas. So he was already going to the championship. So that was good because he was a little relaxed. But we flew him down. He's sponsors Planet Fitness. So we were flying into a Planet Fitness near Fort Hood. I think where's Fort Hood? Fort Hood, whatever's Texas. In Texas. Yeah. So we were flying into Fort Hood. He was at that. And we got caught in some bad weather. So he has his assistant, my co-pilot, and myself and Joey Logano and his wife are sitting there for hours. And so they have one kid and they're starting to sneak in that thought of another kid. Gonna have number 2. So as we're sitting there and we're just sitting there talking, I'm in a counseling mode with, you think that this guy's he won the championship that year, right? NASCAR championship, right? But we literally sat there and I talked to him and his wife for hours about parenting. That's what we were talking about. We were talking about parenting. And you know what their question was? Question all of us have. Can you love your second child like you love this first child?
Yeah.
That was their question. That was their question, because you pour so much into that first child. The question was, can you love them? So what's your answer to that if you're talking to a father and a parent?
I think the second child will bring you slightly more joy because and I only say it, I don't think you love them any different, but depending on how challenging it was with the first, the second is always easier.
Yeah.
You seen the commercials where the lady's at the mechanic shop and she's got the baby, and by the second baby, she's giving the baby to the mechanic. Hold him real quick while I get my. Yeah. Just you go through so much stuff learning how to be a parent.
You do.
And by the time the second one comes around, it's so natural to you now, and it's actually a little bit easier because you know exactly what to do. You're not up panicking because they won't stop crying. You kind of figure certain things out.
Yeah. Yeah. That is so right. I got all these stories. It's funny, but you're so right. And I used to say by the third, when I tell people by the third, it's just grab and go. Just put it back, grab it and go, just roll, because it's like old hat by then, the baby's not going to fall apart and die. Where the first one you're staring at them, which leads to this story. So we lived in base housing when I was a flight school student. We had Braden. And so our room, we literally lived inside like a 700 cinder block little house, right? It was
all right.
All right. Yeah. And you had the hallway, you had the one bath, you had the bedroom on this side, and you had the other bedroom on this side. So 2-bedroom place. And Braden was over here in the crib. Tish and I are over here. And we wake up and there's sun. The sun is out. And I remember I looked at her, she looked at me, and everything, blankets, everything went flying. Because why is this baby not making a sound? And why has he not made a sound for hours? And the fear of God came into our heart because we thought he was dead.
Yeah.
We thought he was done. I'm talking about everything flying, sheet. We're rolling out of the bed. And we came around the corner, and there he is, just curled up, sleeping like a beautiful little baby, you know? But we were scared to death because we didn't have a clue. We didn't have a
Yeah.
clue. That was the first night he slept through the night. And it
Oh,
was,
wow. Okay.
that was the first night. Yeah. Braden was not the easiest baby, by the way. He liked to cry. Got a question for you.
Okay.
Okay. For dads out there that are historically consumed with the career and professional development, what do you suggest is the priority and most pivotal first step in tilting the scales in the direction of support and love for your children from an unhealthy focus on career?
Okay. That's a loaded question there.
Yeah.
First, I would say, or I would just advise. A lot of people say, I work hard to provide for my family. I'm trying to build something for my family. But what's the point of building it all for the family and you never get to spend the time with them to enjoy it with them?
Mhm.
And so that's the issue that I had to kind of face at one point in my life. Around the same time, my son told me he didn't want me to be his dad anymore. I realized I was making decent money, but I did work a lot of long hours.
Mhm.
And so you kind of have to, at that point, kind of have to reset your focus and really understand, okay, what's the goal here? I have to work, but I also need to have a relationship with my children, with my wife, with the whole family. So
Yeah.
now you have to be strategic. You may not be able to make every game. You may not be able to make every PTA meeting, but you set aside those times where you can and when you do. And even if you're tired when you get off work, if you got to stop by the McDonald's bathroom and wash your face in the sink or do it before you leave work, come home, intentionally come home with energy and
Yeah.
give them that first 15. The first 15 minutes you walk in the door, give it to them. Play with them, listen to them, let them do whatever. And then they'll give you the next hour.
Yeah.
But you got to make that sacrifice to give them that time. Now, I changed my profession. I didn't take a promotion. I actually took a demotion just so I could be home more. But my situation was a little bit more dire because my whole life I was determined not to be my dad. And I still got the same results that my dad had. So I just stopped everything and said, you know what, my kids are the priority. I'll just take less money. I know we can live off this, so this is what I'm gonna have to make. And
Yeah.
I figured it out. But every case isn't extreme as mine. You really have to understand every time that you give, it has to mean something.
Yeah.
If you
Absolutely.
can only attend one thing a month, attend that one thing a month and be the most excited parent in the building.
Yeah.
You still want to create those memories. You still, when your kids see you, they still should light up,
Yeah.
you know,
Absolutely.
and talk to them. Kids are smart. They know what's going on, and always be true to your word. If you tell them you're going to do something, do it because
Yeah.
they remember. They
Yeah. Don't
remember.
let it get in the way. Yeah. That's solid advice. And Nicole says given intentionally. And that is so true that this pour into your kids, right?
Exactly.
Like one of the things, and you're already there a little bit, but one of the things that we're going through is that, Braden's 23 now, Megan's 20, a junior in college, and we have Lainey who's, a junior in high school, right? So that empty nest syndrome's coming.
Yeah,
That's a tough thing, right? For us, that's
it's
a tough
tough.
thing to think that that's right around the corner,
Yeah.
you know? So one of the things that we do, and we're making a great intentional effort to do, is to make those holidays and make those trips, and the things that we can set aside and do with them like the most important. You know, we went last year to down to Florida and went on, and there wasn't like overwhelmingly a ton to do. But I guarantee you, if you ask Braden or ask Megan or ask Laney what one of their favorite vacations we've ever done, it was that one. Because you know what we did? We slept in the morning, we ate breakfast, we rode out to the beach, we sat there, we joked, we had fun, we talked, you know, we rolled back up, we got dressed later, we went out to eat. You know, it was just laid back and it was so much fun because we just spent time
Yeah.
together. We
Yeah.
spent time.
Yeah. You know what's painful for me when I go out to restaurants or I'm out on an outing and I see a family together, but you can tell there's no relationship there. They're just doing this. This is their once a year family trip, and nobody's talking to each other. The kids are arguing back and forth, or they're off in the corner doing their own thing. The dad is on his phone or on his computer. The wife is on her phone or reading a magazine, and there's just no chemistry.
Yeah.
That is so painful for me because I know one simple truth. They never prioritized the family first. They never put the family first. They put everything around first and scores the family into it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. That's so true. Yeah. Put the family first, create those memories, pour into each other, into your relationship with your wife or your husband. Continue to pour into that because that, again, that's that foundation piece that we talked about. That's such an important thing. Now that's incredible advice. You got a couple more minutes. If you've got any more questions for Jamon, make sure to ask or any comments. Because this to me, like I said, to me, this was one of the first communities, and I'm so glad you're here and you're a part of this and you're taking over it. Because this is something that deserves a lot of attention. This community doesn't deserve, halfway. This deserves a focus because this is such an important topic, right?
Yeah.
Building those memories, building that core family, and really pouring into your kids. And parenting is not easy. You said it. It doesn't come with a manual.
Mm-mm. Parenting is not easy. It is one of the hardest things that I've ever done, but it is also the most rewarding thing that I've ever done. I feel so accomplished. You know, a lot of my friends, they have their companies and they're architects, and one friend is an engineer, another friend he owns a catering company, and I was doing so much with video that they just knew I was about to open up a studio, which I still will down the road. But right now, my passion is leading me here.
Yeah.
And parenting isn't a sexy title. If I was single out on a date and the lady asked, "What do you do for a living?" I said, I teach parenting classes. She'll be like, "You teach parenting classes?" One, I'm a dude that's doing it.
Yeah, that's important. That's important. You are a dude that's doing it.
I'm a dude that's doing it. And so I found out with ladies, it's like, "Oh, really?" Then they just start smiling like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, right.
Dudes are like, "You do what?"
Yeah.
He's like, what's the catch? I mean, it's like, it's no catch.
That's awesome. So quick question. What do you do to make each of your kids feel unique? That's what Patty's asking.
I have my own language with each one because each one has a different personality. Like my oldest daughter, she's the strong-willed, independent one. So I know for her, I got to give her space. I'll check in or she'll check in with me and we'll talk for hours, but I can't crowd her.
Mm-hmm.
I can't crowd her because if I start giving her unsolicited advice, she considers it as criticism.
Yeah.
My second daughter, if I don't give her unsolicited advice, she thinks there's something wrong. So I have to actually check in with her more, I have to talk to her more and give her more advice, whether she asks me for it or not. She needs that.
Yeah.
My sons, they totally different. Girls and boys are different. My
Absolutely.
sons, neither one of them wants advice at all. But my 14-year-old, he just likes to come hang out. He likes to watch cartoons, watch anime with me. We like to play Call of Duty together, you know. And my oldest son, we talk about sports.
Yeah.
I found what they all like and what they need, and I meet them there. I don't try to be anything extra. I don't try to go out of my way to force anything. I just find out what they do, what they like, and I meet them in that space. And it works.
Yeah.
It works.
So Braden asked, and I'll answer this one and then you can answer it. But Braden says, Jamon, Matt, what is your favorite part about being a parent? No doubt it's just building that relationship. I think a lot of times, and you've already said this in the conversation, a lot of times dads have a fear of maybe not having that relationship, right? And so, or having, you know, a relationship that's not mutual, right?
Yeah.
Well, Braden, you're 23, Megan's 20, and Lainey's 16, and you all still turn to me and you turn to your mom for advice, for love, for a relationship. We all love being together. We like this weekend, Braden and I are going to watch Carolina Panthers play Sunday, right?
Mm.
We love to do things like sports, like you and your son, but we love to do things together, right? And it's knowing and it's building that common relationship where I'm not pulling to get him to go to the game with me, or I'm not pulling to be together with them. We're together because we want to be. And to me, as long as we're doing that, and as long as we know we love each other, then we're succeeding. I'm succeeding as a father,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm meeting them where they are, understanding who they are, and I'm there for them when they need me. And so that's the fulfillment and the best part to me. How about you?
My favorite part about being a father is it's a little tough for me to answer it because I enjoy pretty much all of it.
I do too. I do too.
But the thing that I think really sticks out to me is the sense of accomplishment when my son's friends start calling me pops.
Yeah.
When my son's friends say, "Yo, that's Jordan dad right there. That's Jordan's dad right there, or that's Jamon's dad right there." And hey, Mr. Glover, how you doing? My name is such and such such. And just like, wow, my sons really got me like I'm a superstar out here. These
Yeah.
kids coming up, you know what I'm saying? It's just like
Yeah.
the relationship that we've built, and my sons respect and love me so much that they brag on me. They don't mind sharing me
Yeah.
with their
Exactly.
friends.
I know exactly what you're saying.
And it's
Yeah.
so different from my relationship with my father that it's like I'm just in awe. It's like, wow, I just became intentional. I just became intentional about how we built this relationship. And that's literally really all I changed. And it wasn't easy. It took a lot of work. But I promise you, it's no greater feeling for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Patty Muller, she ends it perfect. She says, Jamon, welcome to Convene. Having this community will be fantastic. And I couldn't echo that comment anymore because this is something that is a special community. This is something that we can pour into other men and other women because there's no manual. So maybe this community can become the manual and we can share our parenting experiences to help others. Right. And I think that's wonderful. So I'm going to give you the last words. You can take us out of here. Stezo, thanks as always in the background. Appreciate you. And Jamon, you get the last words, man.
Awesome. I appreciate it. I am excited to become a part of the Convene family. And I'll just make it real simple. Childhood is the training ground for adulthood.
Mm-hmm.
Childhood is the training ground for adulthood. And the adults that you're helping to create right now, they're going to change the world for good or for bad. So
Yeah. Yeah.
Give them your best, and they'll give their kids their best, and each community will prosper, and this place will be as great as it's supposed to be.
That's right. Thanks, Jamon. I appreciate it. I look forward
Thank
to our
you.
next one, too. This will be one of many. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Matthew.
Yeah, that's right. That's good. Thanks. And y'all have a good night. We'll see you next Thursday.